So Paquette then talks about how this is a period where we see the debut of a lot of the kind of directors that would really sort of characterize this period. And again, crucial to almost all of the movements that we've talked about, this was another sort of pack of cinephiles. And that's one thing that I, to be completely honest, I have so many different interests, but I don't have this kind of undying love for cinema. And so that's part of what these classes are about, is trying to sort of peak that in you all. So if you do find yourself sort of compelled by the films that we've watched this semester and enticed by the idea that there are other things out there, I would ask you to be as adventurous as possible to kind of see, like, really push yourselves. I mean, in general, I've been really about pushing yourselves intellectually, but also in terms of like experientially, like try and watch as many different things and as far out there as possible, so that you like, we're just not one of those people that are talking about how Avengers is so avant-garde. It's like, go to the museum once in a while. You know what I mean? It's like, I love popcorn cinema. I love popcorn. I love McDonald's. But I'm not going to go to McDonald's and say that, like, this is the pinnacle of human cuisine. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what really one of the things that I would like to kind of address in these classes. So they're bringing outside influences into cinema, but also outside recognition, because again, as we've seen over and over, film festivals are sort of central, right, to movements. The key thing, right, is that they're not coming from a sort of long cinematic tradition, whether it's somewhere like France or Japan, right? They're not coming from the sort of typical apprenticeship system, which I think that they don't. He talks about, but I'm not really going to talk about too much. And also, like, he talks about, like, how the changing. So it used to be that you would have to go to and just like start working and work your way up, but then a lot of these filmmakers actually go through film school, so the system is sort of changing quite a bit. And as opposed to the much more explicitly political cinema, which really engaged the trauma of the 1980s. And that's really the cinema that's the Korean New Wave, which also did well internationally on the film festival circuit, not nearly as much as New Korean cinema. These were filmmakers that were really kind of actually dealing, and part and parcel of the democratization processes, and dealing with the trauma that was occurring under sort of the military dictatorship. But the key is that part of the reason that Korean New Wave, or the New Korean cinema, is so exciting and interesting is because it is political, but just but in a different way, right? In kind of, I think, kind of compelling ways, as opposed to just like, let's say a film about the Gwangju massacre, that sort of thing. And then finally, this was a sort of period that a lot of scholars talk about as filmmakers and the industry being much more willing to experiment, and so like a kind of much more sort of exciting sort of atmosphere and energy, which is why it is kind of remarkable, but that all of the filmmakers that kind of did exciting work in this period all debuted around the same time, within 5 years of each other. They all know each other. Most of them work with one another. Again, and we've seen this again and again. So you have Hong Sang-soo, Kim Ki-duk, and Kang Jae-gyu in 1996, Lee Chang-dong in 1997, Kim Ji-yoon and Im Sang-soo in 1998, Bong Joon-ho in 2000. But of course, no one, let's see. In contrast, no Korean director who debuted between 1990 and 1995 would go on to build a major international career, with the exception of Park Chan-wook, who did not establish himself until his third feature, Joint Security Area, in 2000. Okay, so let's talk about the screen